Hello friends, it's Kathy Clement with Kathy by Design, and I'd like to welcome you here today for the tutorial on how I made this Sunflowers mini album using Graphic 45's Time to Flourish papers. I already did a video tour of the album here on YouTube, so you can check that out, but I'll just very quickly show you the inside to kind of give you a roadmap of where we're going. Sometimes that helps during the construction process. I basically made this with 3 card bases. I added in a side pocket, a central hidden pocket with a tag, and then over here on the right there is a flip down page with a tag album and a fold out page with another pocket. So that's the basic design. As I said, I use Time to Flourish papers. You could use whatever design paper you liked. This is a really fun, easy design, and like I said, it starts with card bases. So to make this, you're going to need 4 sheets of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, a scoring tool, a ruler. You're going to need scissors, adhesive tape or glue, whichever you prefer. I have both 1/2 inch and 1/8 inch tape. A craft knife always comes in handy, and a pencil. Well, that's basically it. And then whatever designer papers and extras you choose to work with. I had everything in the Time to Flourish collection. The chipboard flowers, ephemera, tags, pockets, all of that. So it made this very easy for me to put together. So to start with, I've done some of the work ahead of time, just to save time. And I cut 3 pieces of craft cardstock to measure 7 inches high by 11 inches long. And then I scored each of these on my scoring tool. Excuse me, I'm getting over a terrible cold. At 5 1/4 and at 10 1/2. And that leaves you a little 1/2 inch gutter piece, and that is what we're going to use to join each section of the album together. So let me just put all this stuff out of the way. We'll get started with the first section, and I don't need the scoring tool, so I'm going to go ahead and move that too so that I can work. Okay, here we go. So as you can see, I put my score tape here on the gutter. I'm just going to peel this off. You don't have to work with score tape. I just find it really convenient. Then I'm just going to fold that little gutter in, and we'll call this base 1. Then I'm going to bring in base 2. And here's the left side, the right side, here's that gutter. This time I'm going to fold the gutter back, and I'm going to add my score tape to the gutter. And I'm also going to add, if I can find the end of my loop, this 1/8 inch tape along the seam, as well as along the bottom. And you can probably tell, because this probably isn't your first rodeo, this is going to be our center pocket. And I'm just going to peel off this tape, which is sometimes easier said than done. There we go. I always struggle with that just a little bit. Now, so here's the gutter we folded over on base 1. And here's the gutter we lined and folded back. I'm going to remove this liner tape, and we're going to line up along the seam. And just take your time and get this straight. There we go. All right, and then just trim if you have a little overhang of tape like I do here. Just go ahead and trim that. So now it looks like this, right? You've got this middle piece of paper, you've got a pocket here. Oh, I forgot, you need a circle punch. I'm just going to take my circle punch. I'm going to insert it into the pocket. And that looks about like the center to me. I need to sharpen my punch and cut out a thumb hole. So what do we do with this page? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. We're going to fold this page in toward that center seam and burnish it. And I'm going to fold it back like this. And I'm going to take, this time I'm going to use my glue and just run a bead of glue like this all the way around that. And I'm going to fold this back onto that. And this is going to be our pocket page over here. Easy, right? And you can go ahead, find the center. Oops. Cut your thumb hole. Now we're not going to line this yet because if you do, then it makes it hard. Once you get to the point that you're adding your designer papers, line this, then put this down and put your glue just along the two sides to form your pocket. So that was pretty easy, right? Now, so that's card base 1, card base 2, and here's card base 3. And all I've done here is I lopped off this 5 1/4 inch section. You can use this for matting images if you want. And that leaves us with this 5 1/4 inch section with the gutter on the side, and you guessed it, we're going to take our score tape run it down the side, trim off any excess, remove the liner, and then we're going to line up this pocket panel with the seam, and then burnish that. And then you see how this works. This folds over this, this folds over this, and you've got a basic tri-fold album. Now you could leave this just like this if you wanted to, but I decided to have a little bit more fun, so I cut a 5 1/4 by 10 1/4 piece of craft card stock, and I put it on my scoring tool on the short side, and I scored a 1/2 inch down the side. Then I just took my scissors, and then I put it on the long side, and I scored a 5 1/4. So there's that. I just cut this portion off, right? And then I measured up 2 inches with my ruler and just made a simple snip up to there. And this is going to become another pocket. And again, you won't line this, you won't glue this down until you've added your designer paper. But we'll go ahead and add our thumb hole. That looks pretty good. Yeah, I've really got to sharpen this guy. He's giving me fits. If you ever need to sharpen a punch, there's a couple of different ways I found that work really well. One is to just punch fine grit sandpaper several times, and it'll sharpen up that edge, or aluminum foil also works really well, and it looks like it's time for me to do that. Okay, so what you have now is this little gutter here, and you guessed it, we're going to take our score tape, run it along that gutter. I'm going to trim this excess. And remove the liner. And then I'm going to line up this far right-hand panel with the score line. And you want to be kind of centered if you can. Just going to go in and try that one more time. It wasn't quite the way I wanted it to be. That looks good. Burnish it. Then this is going to fold in. And this is going, oops, what do we got here? Oh, I need to trim that. That needs to be trimmed just a little bit more. Let me bring this up so you can see what I'm doing. I used my craft knife before, and this doesn't have to be perfect because you're going to cover this pocket with designer paper, so you don't have to get all worried. The fold you want to be straight. So this folds in, this folds up, and then it looks like I need to come in here and trim along the side. These are all simple tasks. Just like that. And there you go. So that's and then I also cut a pocket, another pocket with this poor sad little punch that's been put through its paces. Let me just see if we can get it to punch one more time, and I promise I'll sharpen it. Okay, so there we go. Now what I did was I just took my craft knife, and I'm not going to do this on my sheet here because it'll tear it, but I figured I wanted to run my ribbon right about here. So I cut about a 1/2 inch slit right here in the seam, and then you can just run your ribbon around the back, and you can tie this pocket closed. And like I said, before you glue things down, go ahead and add your designer papers, because otherwise you're making a lot more work for yourself. So add your designer papers, then you can just go in and you can finish the album off with whatever designer paper you choose. I will tell you one more thing to add your ribbon closure. I go ahead and do that before I add my designer papers, because then you have the adhesive from those designer papers that help hold it in place. And as you can see, I used a fairly wide ribbon, so I just did a triple strip of 1/2 inch score tape all the way around, front and back, and then I put my designer papers on top of that. You don't have to do a ribbon closure. I just find that it helps everything look neat and tidy. So that's basically it. That's the basics of building the base, doing all the embellishments, doing the flowers. That's all up to you. I handmade my flowers with the chipboard that's in the package, but you could certainly use petaloo flowers if you wanted to, whatever flowers you have in your stash. But I just think this makes such a cute, fun album with some little interactive elements that make it really special. And I hope you'll give it a try. I'd love to hear from you in the comments section below. Thanks for stopping by, and go get your craft on.